Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing good. I'm Mrs. Tutuma Bashista and today we are meeting for our social science class. In today's class, we will be starting a new history chapter, that is India after the Mughals. So let's get started with the chapter. Alright, so as I said, it's chapter number 6, that is India after the Mughals. So what are the topics that we are going to look into this chapter? Here we are going to learn basically after the Mughals. If you can remember in our previous chapter where we did India during the Mughal rule, where we learned about the rule of different Mughal rulers like Akbar, Humayun, Aurangzeb, who was the last ruler. So after that, what happened to the Mughal Empire? How did it decline? All right, and who came and who ruled after the Mughals went, after the decline of the Mughal Empire? Who actually came into power? All these things we are going to learn in this chapter. And in today's class, we are going to look into this particular topic, that is the various factors which are responsible for the decline of the Mughal Empire. And from your today's class, your learning outcome will be, you will be able, towards the end of the class, you will be able to explain the various reasons for the decline of the Mughal Empire. All right, so let's first start with the different factors that led to the decline of the Mughal Empire. Actually, there are not only one reason that led to the decline of the Mughal Empire, there are many reasons that led to its downfall. Towards the end of the 17th century, the Mughal Empire, it started to witness many crises, many shortages. Now what are those shortages? The downfall with that of the Mughal Empire, it immediately began after what? After the death of Aurangzeb. As I said, Aurangzeb was a very powerful ruler. So after the death of Aurangzeb only, slowly the Mughal Empire started to lose its power, or started to lose its stronghold in the entire country. And that is why there were, after the rule of Aurangzeb only, various factors crept in which led to the decline of the Mughal Empire. Out of the various reasons, the first and foremost reason is the economic crisis. Economic crisis means financial crisis. Now we all know that when the Mughals were ruling, many revolts happened, many fights happened, right? Many conflicts happened. Now when any wars or revolts happens, at that time a lot of money gets involved, a lot of finance goes out of an empire. All right, so during the rule of Aurangzeb, we all got to know that in our previous chapter we already learned that during the rule of Aurangzeb, the entire Mughal Empire was at its peak. All right, because Aurangzeb was a very powerful and efficient ruler. So Mughal Empire was at its peak under its rule. Under Aurangzeb's rule, also many wars took place, and wars leads to what? Wars leads to the depletion of the financial resources, or the depletion of the economic resources, or the military resources of the entire empire. So after the so with the death of Aurangzeb also, because the later Mughals who ruled after Aurangzeb, they were not so efficient that they could rebuild, or they could restock the finance that has went out of the empire. They were not so efficient enough, and that is one of the economic one of the first reason is the economic crisis, that during the rule of the Aurangzeb, or not only Aurangzeb, other Mughal rulers also, when different wars and all took place, lot of financial resources and military resources went out of the empire, and slowly that became a reason for the decline of the Mughal Empire. Now, the second reason is weak administration. As I already mentioned, after the death of Aurangzeb, whoever Mughal ruler came to rule, they were not so efficient. They were very weak. So the Mughals or the rulers who came after the rule of Aurangzeb, they are basically referred to as the later Mughals. All right, so those later Mughals, the later Mughal emperors, they were not so efficient. They neglected the administration system. All right, even they broke lot of law and order. Proper law and order system was not there, so it became a chaotic situation was there. Not no The administration was not under control, so it was not efficient administration. The later Mughals, they could not have an efficient administration. And also it became difficult for them, the Mughal emperors, they could not put a check on the mansabdars, you remember, right? Like those military ranks, military officers that were ranked by the Mughals, right? So the mansabdars also, it increased in numbers, so they also could not keep the later Mughals, they could not keep a check on it. And the governors, the subedars, which in other words subedars, they also the governors, they controlled important offices of the revenue. Revenue department is known as Diwani. Military department is known as Faujdari. All right, and they began to extract lot of revenue from the peasants. So after the Mughals, what happened? These subedars or the governors, they tried to collect lot of taxes from the poor farmers or the poor peasants. All right, and definitely when the farmers are not happy, that also became a reason that led to the decline of the Mughal empire. All right, now these governors utilized their extraordinary powers and they tried to make their position strong, due to which the state revenue declined. Okay, now slowly because this governors or the subedars, they were trying to collect too much of revenue, or they were trying to just strengthen their position. So in the way of just strengthening their position, what happened? The state revenue also declined, and because of this entire weak administration or inefficient administration, that became a reason for the decline of the Mughal empire. Now, the third reason is revolts of peasants and zamindars. As we got to know in our previous reason, that the governors were taking lot of revenue from the peasants. Now, when lot of revenue from were taken from the peasants and the zamindars, they became rebellious. Alright, definitely they were not happy with that. So many revolts broke out in many parts of the country, especially in the northern and in the western part of India. Many revolts took place. Now, this peasants and the zamindars, they were through these revolts, they were able to seize or capture the resources to strengthen their position, to make their position stronger. Now, these peasants and the zamindars, they were able to seize the resources. All right. Now, because of this, and this led to what ultimately it led to a shift in the political and economic authority into the hands of the governors and the various groups. So basically the governors and the, as we got to know, the governors and all, they became very powerful after the Mughals, because the later Mughal rulers were not so efficient. So that is why slowly we will get to know, as we proceed in the chapter, the entire Mughal empire got divided into several regional states. Okay, earlier it was empire was a whole, it was like we have India country as a whole. So empire was a big huge empire. But after the Mughals, no, but during the time of the later Mughals, what happened? The entire Mughal empire got fragmented, got divided into smaller regional states. So the third reason was the revolt that took place between the peasants and zamindars. The fourth reason was foreign invasion. So in the middle of the political, while this political crisis and economic crisis was going on, Nadir Shah, okay, Nadir Shah, two-person, Nadir Shah and Ahmad Shah Abdali. Nadir Shah was a Persian ruler, he was from Iran, and Ahmad Shah Abdali, he was an Afghan ruler. So they both invaded India. They attacked India. All right. So Nadir Shah, he almost plundered, he looted the city of Delhi in 1739 CE. Okay, and because of his invasion and because he almost looted the entire Mughal empire, although he attacked Delhi, it was one of the huge damage that was made to the Mughal empire. All right. And after that, there was also repeated invasion by Ahmad Shah Abdali, who was an Afghan ruler. And because of these foreign invasions, this definitely was a strong reason for the decline of the Mughal empire. The fifth reason is rivalry among the nobility. So nobility means high ranking officials. All right. So the Mughal emperors, what they used to do, they used to appoint foreign people as nobles in their court. All right. Akbar have appointed foreign people, foreigners in their court as as nobles. All right, like intellectual, like known learned people. So what happened after this? After the death of Aurangzeb, when the later Mughals came, who were not so efficient, the Mughal Empire was again it got weakened because of the fight or rivalry among this Mughal nobility. Okay, now the group of nobility, they now why they were fighting? Definitely because of power, because they were also fighting amongst themselves who will take the power. All right. So the nobility again got divided into two groups. One is Iranis, another one is the Turanis. Okay, so the later Mughals who became the ruler, they were just a puppet. They were not having any voice of their own. They were just like a puppet in the hands of this nobles, that is the Iranis and the Turanis. Okay, and because of this fight amongst the nobles only, lot of wars took place, confusions, conspiracies. All right, and that is definitely when there is confusion, wars taking place, there is no law and order situation, that has definitely contributed towards the decline of the Mughal Empire. So that was the fifth reason, that is the rivalry among the nobility. Coming to the sixth reason is Mughal traditions of succession. Now we all know that how the kings used to succeed. The tradition of succession, we all know, right? If the father dies, the son comes. If the son after that son gets over, again that person's son will become the king. So that is the tradition of succession. Now this tradition of succession also became a reason for the decline of the Mughal Empire. Now we all know that the Mughal, in our previous chapter only, the rule of the Mughals, we got to know that the Mughals were from the Timur clan, right? So the Mughal emperors, they followed the Timurid tradition of inheritance. So this inheritance among the sons, it was from the Mughal emperors have been following from a long time, from because that is a Timurid tradition of inheritance. That means after the father dies, the son will come. Okay, so in many cases, what happened after the death of the king, uh, there was always conflict among the brothers themselves, like who will be taking the throne, who will be taking up the throne. So there was always a fight amongst themselves. So during the 18th century, these wars, these succession wars, or the fight among the brothers, like who will be taking up the throne, it became more fierce. It was more destructive in nature, leading to loss of property, loss of lives, loss of the economic resources of the full empire. And that definitely Aurangzeb's and this basically happened after the death of Aurangzeb. Whoever one kept tried to rule, there was constant fight among themselves, and this constant fights and confusions and conspiracies, this again became a reason for the decline of the Mughal Empire. Now, coming to the last reason for the decline of the Mughal Empire is the arrival of the British. That is the final step that made the Mughal Empire, which destroyed the Mughal Empire totally. That was the arrival of the British. So, with the arrival of the British, the Mughal Empire, it received a staggering blow. That was the final kick. Okay, so by 1765, the British had brought some major territories of eastern India under its control, and soon the British became the master of entire India. Like once the British entered India one by one, it went on capturing many places, and soon it was able to establish its strong hold in the entire country. The mighty Mughals, the Mughal Empire, it got accumulated, or it was only particularly in the area of Delhi. Apart from that, and all the other parts of the country, the British had taken control of it. Okay, so the later Mughals never regained the authority. So even though the later Mughals were there, after the British came, they were not successful in gaining that authority back. All right, and they remained rulers of only small places. All right, they were not the major rulers of the entire country. However, the final blow was in 1857 CE, when who was the last Mughal emperor? It was Bahadur Shah Jafar. All right. So there was this Indian, like a part of the India's first national movement, that is the Great Uprising of 1857. So in that you will get to know about this Great Uprising of 1857, like in your next grade, where here in the Great Uprising of 1857, which was a fight between especially the Indian soldiers or the peasants, Indian peasants, and the Britishers. So here in this fight, Bahadur Shah Jafar, who was the last Mughal emperor, he supported the Indians. Okay, So now as Bahadur Shah Jafar was from, from the Indian side, so that is why he was almost the last Mughal emperor. After that, there was no Mughal emperor. All right, and his sons were also killed. Bahadur Shah Jafar's sons were killed, and Bahadur Shah Jafar, he was sent to Rangoon. Rangoon is a place in present day Myanmar, and he was sent for exile. Exile means where somebody is thrown out of his own country. So Bahadur Shah Jafar, he being the last Mughal emperor during this time of Great Uprising of 1857, because he strongly participated in that revolt. So that is why, as a punishment, the British had sent him for exile. That means he was thrown out of his own country and he was sent to a prison in Rangoon. So in Myanmar only, in that prison, he died in 1862 CE. So these were the 8 reasons that led to the, oh, 5, yes, sorry, 7 reasons that led to the decline of the entire Mughal Empire. All right, students, I hope you have at least got an idea now. If anybody asks you what are the reasons that led to the decline of the Mughal Empire, you will be definitely able to explain it. So with this, we have come to an end of our today's class. We shall meet in our next class with another few topics. Thank you, everyone.